entering billable expenses in QuickBooks Online. And honestly, for me, this covers time, material, or expense, or TME, pass through to a customer invoice. It starts with a setting, actually a couple. Click on the gear icon, go to Accountant Settings, and you're going to go down to the Expenses setting, and you're going to want to make sure that the Track Expenses and Items by Customer is switched on, toggled on if you will, and the Make Expenses and Items Billable is also toggled on. Now this one, Show Items Table on Expense and Purchase Forms, that's if you're purchasing items to resell, or you might use it in job costing and you still want to mark it billable and assign it to a customer to pass it through. So I'll leave that up to you. If you don't toggle that, there will only be a category section in the bottom area of cost forms: bill, check, credit card, expense, right? So typically I turn all of these on. You know, any kind of light job costing, which I would include, I consider this is part of it. We're not really caring about a P&L by project at this juncture, right? We'll have a related video for project tracking in QBO, which is basically job costing, but this is just passing through, right? Stuff to an invoice, in this case, expenses. There's even a couple reports, right? So I have that all taken care of, and let's just go do a couple transactions. We'll pass it through. And as you can see on this expense, it's like a credit card expense, right? I'm at Office Depot or Lowe's or Home Depot or Ace Hardware, whatever. I can get some supplies. This is actually for the work I'm doing for a customer. So I tag the customer and or project. It could just be a customer. It doesn't have to be a project. It could be a sub-customer, right? But the ability from those settings that I showed you, I can assign it to actually my client or customer, and then you mark it billable. Same at the item details. If you have that setting turned on, to add the item details table to an expense form: bill, check, credit card, expense, right? And we'll go ahead and save and close this. And there's several different places you're going to see this progress, this workflow. I mean, you can go to all sales or customers, and there's the money bar there, and you can look at unbilled activity. That's really what we're talking about. And this is for the Mandy Kern project, right? So you can start an invoice this way. There's also, as I mentioned, a report. We'll duplicate the tab here that shows uninvoiced charges, uninvoiced activity, if you will. So I'm going to go to reports and then just start typing in the search field, uninvoiced, unbilled. I think we changed it. Yes, we probably did. Yeah, unbilled charges, unbilled time. All right, so they have not been invoiced yet. We used to use the term uninvoiced, right? And there's the Mandy thing here. So there's a way to see it there as well. Or if you just go to the invoice itself, a brand new invoice. And I like using those money bars. You're probably tracking that on the customer list or the all sales, sales list, if you will. And as soon as I put in Mandy here and find her, a right-hand panel will open up, the two billable expenses. So I can go ahead and click add all or add one of them. Time would show up here, estimates, material, expense. And then you just go ahead, and now this unbilled activity has now been invoiced with the invoice, right? And there's a way to do this. One other thing to mention, there's a global setting for this. If you go to Accountant Settings, it's an advanced setting because you can automate this. Right down the automation section, automatically invoice unbilled activity. So anything that was marked billable, QBO will create invoices for that for any customer based on your interval you select or frequency. And then, of course, as I went over in the recurring transactions video, if you've seen that, when you do a recurring invoice, there is an ability, here's one for Rafal, a checkbox to include unbilled activity. That would include time, materials, expense, marked billable based on those settings, right? Even delayed charges, and we'll cover the delayed charge form in a related video. But that is how you invoice against unbilled expense or get reimbursed, track reimbursed expenses in QuickBooks Online.